तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaste, my dear friends. This is video number 10 on Ramana Gita. This video starts with chapter 17. Topic of the video will be on attainment of jnana. Verse 2. Does knowledge dawn gradually, little by little, each day, or does it shine forth at one time in all its fullness, like the sun? Commentary. This conversation was on 25th August 1917. Earlier, Vedarbha had sought several clarifications relating to the state of a person liberated while alive. He is now presenting his doubts on the implications of attaining knowledge. For Ramana, knowledge was instantaneous. His confrontation with death, a total gripping fear of it, freed him from all fears once and for all. Thereafter, he was rooted in the consciousness that he was not the perishable body but the deathless spirit. His awareness of this fact was unwavering. Generally, however, knowledge of one's identity with self is not steady but intermittent. So, ignorance and knowledge would be alternating. Such a state is not one of knowledge but only of practice. Ramana's reply is in the next verse. Note: Sanskrit version of chapter 17 in Sri Ramana's handwriting is in photo file Ramana Gita album. Translation of Professor K. Swaminathan and Sri Viswanatha Swami. 1. On the 25th August 1917, Vedarbha, best among the learned, bowed humbly before the sage and questioned him again. Vedarbha, does jnana come to us gradually, little by little, day by day, or does it, like the sun, blaze forth all at once in all its fullness? Translation of Professor K. Swaminathan and Sri Viswanatha Swami. Bhagavan. Jnana does not come gradually, little by little, day by day. It blazes forth all at once in all its fullness when the practice has matured to perfection. Translation of Professor K. Swaminathan and Sri Viswanatha Swami. Bhagavan. 3. Jnana does not come gradually, little by little, day by day. It blazes forth all at once in all its fullness when the practice has matured to perfection. Vedarbha, verse 4. Bhagavan, during practice, the mind does not, the mind goes and comes in and out. Is the ingoing of the mind called jnana? Bhagavan, verse 5. O learned one, if the mind having once gone in comes out again, it is only practice, for jnana is the experience which never slips away. A.R. Natarajan translation. Bhagavan, verse 3. Knowledge does not come gradually, little by little, day by day. It shines forth instantaneously with ripeness of practice. Commentary. The practice referred to here is vigilant and persistent self-enquiry into the source of individuality. To begin with, even though the joy of abiding at its source would be experienced by the mind, it would soon become externalized by force of habit. Ramana gives the example of a cow used to grazing on another's pastures. Even though luscious grass and fine fodder are given to it by the owner, it would, it would not stay in its shade but would slip away at the earliest opportunity. Gradually, as its old habits weakened and the pleasure of eating tasty food at home was enjoyed more and more, it would stray away less frequently. In the end, even if let loose, it would not move out. Similarly, the bliss of existence has to be experienced for longer intervals by steady self-enquiry. Then, in time, due to the perfection of this practice, the mind would remain merged in its source and knowledge would blaze forth. Conscious immortality, verse 4. Bhagavan, during practice, the I thought is turned within sometimes and is externalized at other times. In the turning of the I thought knowledge commentary during the practice of self-enquiry, the mind is in turned by the enquiry about its source and sometimes does not stray. The questioner wishes to know if this merging of the mind in the self, albeit temporarily, is knowledge, for then to the mind subsides in its source. Verse 5. Bhagavan, learned one, if the mind having gone in comes out again, it is only practice, for knowledge is abiding experience. Commentary. Ramana has clearly stated earlier that experiencing the natural state during spiritual practice is only upasana, practice, and that it is only when the state becomes steady that it can be termed jnana. Ramana Gita, chapter 1, verse 13. Translation of Professor K. Swaminathan and Sri Viswanatha Swami. Vedarbha 6. O best of sages, great scholars have mentioned in the scriptures several stages of jnana. How are they to be reconciled. Bhagavan, verse 7. O wise one, all the stages of jnana mentioned in the scriptures appear even like distinctions in mukti are only to the minds of others. For those who know jnana is but one. A.R. Natarajan translation. Verse 6. Best of sages, those learned in scriptures declare that there are several stages in knowledge. How are they to be reconciled? Commentary. Ramana is emphatic that both in liberation and knowledge there are no stages. This seems to be at variance with the scriptural declaration that there are several stages. Hence the doubt. Verse 7. Bhagavan. All the stages in knowledge mentioned in the scriptures, just as distinctions in liberation, appear only in the minds of others. For the wise, knowledge is one. Commentary. There are two standpoints, one for the onlookers and the other for the individual concerned. For instance, some learned persons declare that even for the wise, prarabdha, that portion of karma which has begun to operate would continue, whereas for the individual concerned, there can be no karma. For the sense of doership is dead and even are viewed with equipoise. Similarly, the onlooker sees some wise men continuing to be in the body after liberation, others discarding it, and yet some others sometimes having bodies and sometimes not. From this he comes to the conclusion that liberation is of three kinds. Another clarification divides them into four types. For the liberated one, the body and I idea is not there, and therefore whether the body exists or does not, or exists sometimes only, makes no difference. Similarly, for the others, some wise men are apparently engaged in action, some are totally withdrawn or active on some occasions and withdrawn on other occasions. Some wise men sport powers, others are silent storehouses of power. These apparent differences give the impression that in knowledge there are differences. This is not so. When knowledge of one's own natural state is firm, whatever one does or does not do, self-attention never waves. Sat Darshanam, verse 40, translation of K. Swaminathan and Sri Viswanatha Swami. Bhagwan, verse 8, observing the moments in the Jnani's body, senses and mind which occur according to prarabdha, others imagine the stages. In reality, there are no gradations in jnana. A.R. Natarajan translation. Verse 8. Bhagavan. observing the movements of the body and senses caused by karma. Others imagine differences in stages. In a sense, there are no gradations. Commentary: with the ending of the sense of doership, triple karma ends, yet the body's movements, which are the product of karma, which has started yielding fruit, continue for the wise as well. From this arguments about stages in knowledge and the theory that there cannot be fullness of knowledge as long as body last are built up. But if one goes behind these differences, one would find that essentially all knowers are in the same state, in the state of sahaja or one's natural state. Translation of Professor K. Swaminathan and Sri Viswanatha Swami Vedarbha. Verse 9. Once knowledge, the destroyer of all ignorance, has been gained, will it disappear on account of ignorance, sprouting again through attachment? Bhagavan, verse 10. O light of the Bhardwaja line, once self-knowledge, the opposite of ignorance, has been attained, it can never be overcome. A.R. Natarajan, translation, verse 9. Bhagavan continues, once knowledge which destroys ignorance is attained, will it end by the resprouting of ignorance through attachment? Verse 10. Light of Bhardwaja line, once knowledge, which is the opposite of ignorance, is attained, it is never lost. Commentary: as explained earlier, knowledge has been defined as firm self-abidance as distinct from unsteady wisdom, which has been classified as practice only. Also, steady wisdom flows from the destruction of mind, of latent tendencies, since mental attachments are the cause of externalization of the mind. The question of mind lapsing into ignorance cannot arise. The story of Bhikkhu Chitta would be worth recalling in this context. This Chitta was the son of an elephant trainer. He joined the Sangha in the hope of enjoying tasty food, but discarded the robes when he found it was not so. The Holy Sangha, however, left its mark and he returned again, only to leave soon. In like fashion, he deserted the Sangha a third, fourth, fifth time, and also the sixth time. On that occasion, the head of the Sangha hinted that he would leave again, citing some surmise. A cow securely tied up in the wire seems peaceable enough, but turned loose, it quickly tramples down the green crops. Likewise, while the king and army with drums and chariots are camping in the woods, nobody can hear the crickets chirping, but after the troops have moved on, the crickets can be easily heard again, although one might have been quite sure there were none. This story illustrates how slipping away from knowledge is inevitable so long as the mind is not fully merged in the source. When he is joined again the seventh time, he matured in wisdom and became an arhat. Ramana would refer to Kevala Navanitam and point out that the best repayment to the Guru would be not to slip away from steady abidance in the self. However, once abidance in the natural state becomes effortless and spontaneous, there could be no further question of ignorance overcoming one. All doubts and karma and one's fullness of knowledge dawns. Thereafter, ego linked karma and attachments cannot arise. Wisdom concluded. Translation of Professor K. Swaminathan and Sri Rishabhanatha Swami. Ganapati Muni composes a long poem in praise of Bhagavan to end the Ramana Gita. Like the Bhagavad Gita, the Ramana Gita has 18 chapters. 1. Bhagavan Ramana, born in the great line of Parsara, the son of the immaculate Sundara Pandita, with lovely eyes wide as the lotus petal, bringing renown to the earthly gods. Versification of Vedic line carrying beacon light of Parsara, sage of Rishi, seers, and son of Sundara Pandita, his eyes wide as the lotus petal, Sri Bhagavan Ramana brings fame and renown to earthly Brahmin Muktas. A.R. Natarajan translation, verse 1. Born in the great line of Parsara as the son of learned pure Sundara, Ramana has lovely eyes, wide as lotus petals. He brings fame to earthly gods. Commentary. In this chapter, comprising of 26 verses, Ganapati Muni has composed 24 ecstatic verses in praise of his Guru, the universal teacher Ramana. The penultimate verse is a question Amritanatha about the glory of realized persons, and the last verse is Ramana's reply. In this verse 1, the Muni refers to Ramana's lineage. His Gotra was Parsara, coming down from the great Vedic Rishi Prasara. The Vedic mantras have been made well known by the sages Vishwamitra, Vasishta, Vamadeva, Bhardwaja, Atri, Bhrigu, Gautama, Kashyapa, Angisara, and Parsara. Parsara Rishi is the author of Smriti text and father of Vedavyasa, who codified the Vedas. It seems in the fitness of things that the Maharishi, who was born with an intuitive awareness of the glory of Arunachala, should be born in this lineage. Ramana's father Sundaram Iyer was generous to a fault and was held in esteem by the community for his sterling. At this stage, I conclude this video. Thank you for watching this video. Namaskar, my dear friends. Next video number 11 will start with chapter 18 and topic will be on the glory of the Siddhas. Thank you for watching this video. Namaskar.